guys, this is Mandy at thislovelypath.wordpress.com. I am going to be talking about February's book picks. This camera. Sorry. Okay, so I know it's a little early, but I am not going to read anymore this month because I read enough this month and I have a ton to do still because we have company coming at the end of March, and I've got a bunch of new books coming in March that I want to be able to read, and so the next few days I'm not going to read anything. My stack from February. Get them all in there. So, first one I read, Prodigal Summer by Barbara Kingsolver. This is my least favorite read of the month. What to say about it without giving away the storyline. It kind of follows three different stories, two of them mainly women, in a small town in the southeast. Her writing is great. She's a good writer. I hated the storyline. The three stories did not intertwine as you would think that they would. It's all about desperate women who want younger men, and it's kind of all about sex. At least that's what it ends up coming down to. There is a storyline involving a widowed younger woman who is, I want to say she's like 30 in the story, who like contemplates sleeping with her 17-year-old nephew. So just kind of some twisted things that were gross. The author, I found, also had a lot of hidden political agenda in her book, and I actually agreed with some of what her not so subtle goals were. Some of it I didn't, some of it I did, but I felt like it was so it wasn't subtle enough to be subtle, and it wasn't like obvious enough to appreciate that you were reading a book for that purpose. You know, which would have been fine. So that kind of bothered me. There were some passages about like moths, because there's two women who are kind of into science. They're just too much detail about things that really didn't have anything to do with the story. She was kind of trying to use it as a metaphor for these women's lives, and it just didn't come across well, in my opinion. I know that Animal, Vegetable, Mineral was super popular by her. I never read it. This is the first book of hers I've read. Maybe there are others that are better. I did not care for this one. The other thing that really bothered me was it just ended. There was absolutely no conclusion. It wasn't like it was a bad ending. It just didn't end. It was like the book stopped and you never got any resolution. It was like she wrote a book and they published half of it. It literally felt like it just kind of all of a sudden cut, and you were like, okay, well, that was a waste of a few hours of my life. So this was my favorite part of the whole book is the inside cover, because she's got these pretty nature sketches. But this was, let's see, 444 pages, so kind of an in-between size. Don't recommend. Didn't care for it. Probably won't read her again. The next book that I read, still has my $1 price tag on it, was Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead. I had read Atlas Shrugged a couple years ago for book club. It's not a fast read. It took me the last week of January and all of February to get through this book, and I'm a fast reader. This is about 700 pages, but like, you know, pretty small font. She doesn't write page turning stories, at least for me. I'm not like gonna stay up till 2 a.m. to try to get to what happens next in these books, in this one or Atlas Shrugged. But I will say they are both, she's an amazing writer. I mean, there are some books that you read because the stories are so good, and there are some books that you read, at least me, because the writing is like got something to it that is just out of the ordinary. And her ability to like look at people and understand the true motives of what's going on in their thought processes. Like, her characters are so multidimensional. They're so well done. Her sentences, her prose, like the way she writes is just, it's beautiful. And it's a stark setting. It's not, I like pretty. I have a hard time with like movies and books that don't have some sort of beautiful setting in them. So this is just stark. It's about architects in the like 1920s. And I just found that it was, I mean, it's exaggerated when it comes to describing humanity. She takes these characters and then she kind of exaggerates them beyond what would be normal. But I mean, there's a reason she's been popular. She has the ability to look at life and people and just grasp it so well and explain it so well. And her ability to see, particularly in Atlas Shrugged compared to this one, you know, she sees where we're heading, and that's pretty amazing. Controversial author. I think she's fabulous in a lot of ways. I don't agree with a lot of her philosophies, but a lot of them I do. So I think it's a insightful book. I think her writing is beautiful. Don't read it if you want like a quick, easy breezy read, because she's not the author for you if that's what you're looking for. But good book. Okay, found a new book that I love. Into the Wilderness by Sarah Donati, I believe is how you pronounce her name. I'd give this book 5 stars. It took me a little bit to get into it. I didn't love it right away. I read this book because a few years back, okay, I'll digress for a minute. One of my all-time favorite series, and I try not to admit this too loudly sometimes, but here I am on the web announcing it, is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. A lot of adult content. Amazing, amazing story. And back years ago, I remember her mentioning this book as one to read if you liked Outlander. And I never got it. I think I'd put it in my Amazon wish list or something for quite a while and never ordered it. Found this book at the local Goodwill place. And sure enough, there is a quote, a recommendation from Diana Gabaldon right on the front cover. So I picked it up for $1 and devoured it. It's awesome. It's about a woman in like post-Revolutionary War U.S. She comes over from England, and if you're familiar, I'm trying to see how long it is. It's about 900 pages. If you're familiar with Outlander, it's totally not the same story. You don't have any of the time travel or any of that in it. And by the way, don't watch the Outlander series. So anybody listening to this who's like never read it but knows there's a TV series out, totally raunchy and not my thing. So when I say Outlander, I mean the books, not that show. but it's sweeping like Outlander, and it's like a sweeping saga. So they're doing so many different things and going to so many different places, and all these dramatic incidents happen, and the love between the two main characters is what I would say is the most, similar to Outlander. You've got two very strong leads that work so well together, and it plays off well. Her writing, in my opinion, is not as strong as Diana Gabaldon, but she certainly can write a good story. This is more Native American, U.S. stuff. Apparently, this is a series of 12. So now I have 11 I need to buy. Something like that, 12 or something. So I did go ahead and order book 2 off Amazon used. So I'll be continuing it as long as I continue to enjoy it. I liked it enough. I really want to keep reading it. I thought it was a great story. So, side note, if you are an Outlander fan, it was really fun because halfway through this book, what do you know? They start talking about this fellow named Ian Murray who lived with the Indian tribe. And you're like, wait a minute, Ian? Okay, that's Ian from Outlander. A little while later, they talk about a white witch who had come and helped him when he was in the war, and healed him up, and her name was Claire Fraser. So it's kind of fun because there's some intertwining. The author brings in some of the Outlander characters just in mention, but I thought that was a super fun little thing. I was like kind of stupidly giddy. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're talking about Claire and Jamie. So, Into the Wilderness, Sarah Donati, something like that. Great book. Another book I just found. So we now live in Idaho, and they don't have like Goodwills here. They have something called like Deseret Industries that's run by the Mormon Church. And so we go there quite often to look for used dining room chairs, because my kids keep breaking chairs. But I keep coming away with a ton of books. So another Deseret Industries find. I picked it up, looked interesting. Never had heard of the author or this book. It's by Lori King, and it's called The Beekeepers Apprentice. I grabbed it because it kind of, I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but it looked fun, and I want to be a beekeeper, and I just thought, hey, $1, throwing it in the basket. This was so good. This takes place in 1915, and it is about, so in England, so you're talking World War I. Sorry, can't get comfortable here on the floor. I'm too old to sit on the floor. This young teenager stumbles across Sherlock Holmes sitting in the Sussex countryside. And she is as quick-witted and intelligent as he is. And it starts with this funny encounter between the two of them. And she is snippy and snappy with him and just kind of cuts him down to size. And he picks up on her intelligence, and they form this unlikely alliance between this young teenage woman and Sherlock. And this author, apparently, I thought this book was new based on how it looks, like a newer release. It's actually and it says right here, if I'd paid attention, it's the 20th anniversary edition. So this one was written, so originally 94. So, and it's from a woman, she lives in California, the author. So she's not British. I've read the original Sherlock Holmes. I believe all of them, if not most of them. I've read the original Sherlock Holmes. I love all the versions of Sherlock I've seen. The one with the BBC is doing. I love the Robert Downey Jr. ones. I love the Sherlock stuff. And for her to be able to like portray him so well as a modern, American writer, she did such a good job. Like, you can totally picture Benedict Cumberbatch, or however you say his name, like in this. Like, it works so well, and her writing is beautiful and phenomenal. She is an amazing writer. And so it's fun. They team up. Sherlock is kind of like mentoring this young girl, kind of teaching her his ways, and they get into some cases together. And so you're going through the war years and coming out just slightly post-war England, and it was fun. It was funny, but serious, but funny. And it was just a really good read. If you like anything Sherlock Holmes, I highly suggest this. I think it's as good as the original Sherlock Holmes, which is probably totally like sacrilegious to say. And Arthur Conan Doyle would probably roll over in his grave, but that's my opinion. 345 pages. I read it in like 2 days. It's super fast, super easy. Amazing writing. Like, her, I wish I would have like underlined some sentences. She just has a way with words. Once again, had I paid attention to the front cover, see right there, the first in the series. So once again, I got suckered in. Now I have however many more books to read in this series, and I will continue to read them because they are excellent. So, The Beekeepers Apprentice by Lori King, full marks. I generally read a nonfiction. I did not get around to it this time. All I did this month in my nonfiction was, and I'm going to totally reveal my dorky side to everybody who doesn't already know it. I bought myself these books in December for my birthday. Victorian Farm and Edwardian Farm. These are, my son's going to walk in just a minute, so. These are based on my very favorite TV show ever. And it's their different series by the BBC. And it's about a historian and 2 archaeologists who go back and live in a certain time period. And they have, I think, 5 different ones. And these were my 2 favorites out of the series that they did. So I bought myself the books. And it basically is kind of the commentary from the movie. And they have like recipes and like how to make cider according to the Victorian time period, and pickling, and the advances in agriculture, health and hygiene, how to make and fix their boots, the baskets, how to make the butter, how they sheared the sheep. Just lots of fun. I'm talking to the camera, so lots of fun information. To me, it combines my love of all things British, all things history, and all things farm homesteading. So I love this series. If you've never watched them and you're into any of those 3 things, they're extremely well done. Victorian Farm and Edwardian Farm. And I would say Edwardian Farm was probably my favorite if I had to choose out of all of them. And so it's just kind of a summary of the shows, and they're pretty good books. And I've just kind of flipped through these, not like read them front to back yet. So, okay. Let me know if you guys have read any of these books that I've talked about, and if you have any suggestions for me for future reading, and what you're reading right now. Talk to you guys later. Bye.